So today I'm going to talk to you guys about mindfulness. I'm not sure how much you guys know about it. Some may know more than others. Um, but I'm going to talk about mindfulness today. So let's talk. Um, I'm going to raise a question. If you can think, tell me one word that comes to mind when you think of mindfulness. Anybody? I'll just take a few, two or three, any word that comes to mind when you think of mindfulness or being mindful. Serenity, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Can I have two more? Just two more. Awareness,
Peace.
that's yes. Peace,
Present.
presence, that's a key. Okay, I'm loving it. Thank you for the feedback. Okay, so mindfulness is a type of meditation or practice in which you focus on being intensely aware of what you're sensing and feeling in the moment without interpretation or judgment. Practicing mindfulness involves breathing methods, guided imagery, and other practices to relax the body, the mind, and the soul to reduce stress, anxiety, and a host of other symptoms. My Bible tells me in Isaiah 26:3, thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. Believe it or not, that's a form of mindfulness. We hear it a lot, keep our mind stayed on God. He'll keep us in perfect peace. That's a form of mindfulness. So keep that in mind as we go along. The way I see it is that our mind is a muscle. Let's look at it this way. If you're working out your physical body, you're doing it for a reason, right? But what is that reason? So you either want to gain muscle, build muscle, burn fat, lose pounds, get stronger, etc. So mindfulness, how I perceive it, is a brain exercise, right? To allow us to think clearer, to have more control over our thoughts, and feel better overall. It helps to strengthen and reform the mind in a sense. Everything you do starts with a thought, and that starts in your mind. Mindfulness for me is more than just a practice. It has saved my life. It has helped to preserve me, even in my darkest moments that most don't even know I may have endured through. I don't teach it or encourage it because it looks good or it sounds good, but because it has been essential in aiding in my mental health and wellness and allowing me to reclaim all that I am and all that I'm supposed to be. It's still a daily struggle sometimes. My journey is definitely scattered, right? Growth is not linear, but I have my good days, I have my bad days, but mindfulness helps me to regain control of my mind and gain my power back for the most part. Being able to have a way to regulate those fear-based thoughts and doubts have been life-changing, not to mention how it has helped me to cultivate more positive and consistent behaviors. I vowed to God that I would share my story to be able to help somebody else and know that they are not alone and they are never alone. So the question you may be wondering is, what does mindfulness have to do, you know, with what we're talking about? Or how does mindfulness apply to interpreting the rainbows in our lives? So there's there's three main, I guess you could say, pillars of mindfulness. So one is intention. Two is attention. Three is attitude. One, intention is to cultivate an awareness and return to it over and over and over again. So in mindfulness, it's imperative that you be intentional, right? Be intentional with being in the moment. Be intentional with being present with what you're feeling, what's going on. And make sure you can return to that. Make sure you're familiar with it. Two, attention. So attention to what is occurring in the present moment, not what happened yesterday, not what's going to happen after lunch, not what's going to happen 2 months from now, but being present in what's happened. Be present in what's happening in the very moment, simply observing things, observing your thoughts, your feelings, and your sensations as they arise. And three, attitude, non-judgmental, curious, and kind. I included non-judgmental because as humans, we tend to be our biggest critics. Sometimes we can be our biggest cheerleaders. Sometimes we're our worst critics. And I'm a witness to that because sometimes I'm the one who has me, pinned up in a corner somewhere, not even nobody else, just me. So it's important to keep in mind intention, attention, and attitude when thinking of how to apply mindfulness to the rainbows in our lives. Mindfulness is a way of being intentional when we embrace the good, accept and pay attention to the bad, and manage our attitude while we own the uncertainties and the fears that come our way in life. So now, you may be asking, how does this apply to my life, right? As I go through, at this time, I'm going to go through the colors of the rainbow. And in the next few minutes, I will be dissecting them one by one from what I call a mindful perspective. The colors are going to represent different moments we will encounter in life, different skills to maintain the rainbows in our lives, but also ways to self-regulate and stay mindful amidst our storms. So just for those of you who may, you've been out of school for a while, you don't remember the colors of the rainbow, Roy G. Biv. Just think Roy G. Biv. I'm going to go through each one, but just Roy G. Biv, okay? No shade, just saying. Okay, so R, the red in our rainbows, right? Today, that's going to stand for resilience. And resilience is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties with toughness, right? The ability of a substance or object to spring back into shape. Think a resilient faith, right? That bounce back spirit, that push through spirit. Let's think of a slinky, because I'm an image person also. A slinky is an object that's made out of various materials that stretches, it wiggles, it walks, and it jiggles. It gets stretched out of place from time to time. But one thing about a slinky is it bounces back. Understand that God made it to stretch. God made it to be flexible and versatile in how it moves and why it moves the way it does. And even though sometimes it may feel like we are breaking or we are bent out of shape, in reality, God may just be stretching us and maneuvering us through life and guiding us through. Why, you ask? Because that's what he made us for, and he knows we are strong enough to endure through it. Your storms may be work, relationships, health, addictions, family, insecurities, fears, whatever your storm may be. Realize you were built for it, and that bounce back spirit was built into who you are by someone who knows you best. Our next color is orange. Our orange today is going to represent optimism. Optimism is hopefulness and confidence about the future or the successful outcome of something. Something I've realized is that it's all about perspective. We can't always control what happens to us in life or what we may go through, but we can control how we react to it, and that's with our perspective. Even when we may not know what is coming next, we are hopeful for the future. That sense of hope carries us through and allows us to believe in something, even when we can't see it yet. But knowing God will always provide and make a way, because he always does and he always can. I hope y'all are keeping up with me. I'm going through these colors. Yellow is by far my favorite color in this rainbow today, and I'm gonna tell you why. Our yellow represents our yearning seasons. I'm gonna say that again. Our yellow represents our yearning seasons. So yearning, or to yearn, is an intense longing for something, a time in which we are going without something we may want or we may need. Now, referring back to my sis and those hurricanes and cyclones and earthquakes and flash floods, they can all be found in the yearning seasons, right? Whether it's mentally, spiritually, emotionally, or physically, we all have yearned at some point in our lives. Something we may want or feel we need, but God doesn't want it for us. Some feelings associated with this can be eagerness, restlessness, discouragement, hopelessness, insecurities, fears, doubts, even toxic thoughts of failure. But I want you to know, and I want you to stay encouraged and remember that trouble doesn't last always. It is but a moment, not your forever. But while you are yearning, allow God to grow you within the midst of your vulnerability and your despair. Always come out of your yearning season better than you went in. Understand God put you in a yearning season to position you to prosper. Our next color is green, grace. Grace is the power, beauty, and love of God that is always around us. Gratitude gives us the eyes to see it. I'm going to say that again. Grace is the power, beauty, and love of God that is all around us. Gratitude gives us the eyes to see it. Attitude is gratitude. His grace is always sufficient. Being grateful for the good, the bad, the ugly, and all that comes in between. Also, as he does extend so much grace to us, sometimes we need to do a little better job at extending some grace to ourselves. Operate in your grace, nobody else's. Always try to see whatever circumstances you find yourself in through a graceful lens. Blue, I'm coming to the end of my colors, stick with me. Blue stands for our blessings, God's favor, and his protection. Need I say more? We often take them for granted, but I want us to realize blessings encompass the good as well as the bad. Oftentimes, we just associate it with the good. Realize that sometimes your blessing is in that no, or it's in that delay you may have received, maybe even in that failure you just encountered. Favor ain't always fair, and sometimes it may have us feeling quite out of place. Sometimes favor is uncomfortable, and it's because God needs us to grow through the discomfort and essentially protect us from ourselves, even when we don't know we need protecting. Indigo, the I. Individuality, the quality or character that distinguishes you as an individual. Not your sister, not your cousin, not your mom, not your dad, but you. God made only one you. Live fully in your authenticity. Own it, be you unapologetically. Be courageously free. Be secure in knowing that different or misunderstood does not mean less than, but rather realize that God created you to shine. And he gave you a shine that nobody can dim, nobody can steal, and nobody can tarnish. And last but not least, our last color is violet, the V in Roy G. Biv. Visualization, the formation of a mental image of something. Manifest it. Affirm it over your circumstances and your life. There is power in your tongue. If you can visualize it, God has already equipped you with all that you need. You just have to activate it. Something I encourage people to do is always take a moment. Moments are just that, a moment to stop, even if just for a few seconds, to look around and realize that maybe it's not so bad after all, to realign yourself and refocus your perspective. God has allowed you the moment, and for that, you ought to be grateful, even amidst your storm, because it could always be worse. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you react to it. And the perspective in which you see it through matters. Perspective is everything. It can truly make or break you in any experience you may go through. In closing, I leave you with this. Your authentic colors make up your authentic rainbow, which adds substance to your authentic journey. Your perspective is essential to endurance, imperative to your healing, and crucial to your growth. Your journey at some point will cause you to be vulnerable, accountable, and courageous, sometimes all at the same time. But you got this. You got this. You are resilient. Keep enduring. Keep radiating. There is no other rainbow like yours. God custom made yours just for you. Be encouraged. Be encouraged knowing God gave you your rainbow because he knew you were able to endure through it. But remember, there would be no rainbow without the rain. There would be no rainbow without the colors that it is composed of. Embrace the journey. Embrace your journey. Own your story. Choose to embrace your colors and radiate through them in spite of it all. Thank you for your time, and we pray that this has blessed you like it blessed us. And we hope you enjoyed the rainbows of life.